Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank my friend and colleague, Senator Portman, for his work and his focus on Ukraine. And I want to thank my friend and colleague, Senator Shaheen. It's been a real pleasure once we started up the Senate NATO Observer Group after it had been dormant for some time. Who knew that it could have been more timely several years ago when we began that process? I was thinking, I've used this analogy before. I grew up in a family of 6 kids. And we, even to this day, have our differences and disagreements. I got one sister I'm pretty sure wouldn't vote for me if she lived in North Carolina. We're not ideologically aligned, but I know she loves me, and I know when our family gets threatened, there's no difference between us. And that's what Vladimir Putin saw on February the 24th. He saw the family of nations in NATO come together like he couldn't possibly have imagined. And he saw 2 nations, Finland and Sweden, after decades of being non-aligned, saying enough is enough. Now it's time to pick between good and evil. And evil is Vladimir Putin, and good is Western democracies. Western democracies like Finland and Sweden, who respect the rule of law, who respect the rights of their citizens, who respect a free press, who invest in their military, and who will be a net exporter of security the day they enter NATO. As a matter of fact, they're already a very valuable asset to NATO. I've spoken with many of my colleagues in the Department of Defense, many people in uniform. They laud the relationship that they have with the military in Finland and Sweden. They work together on exercises. They know that Finland has a formidable ground force. They know that Sweden has a formidable Navy that's going to give us added presence in the Baltics and added presence in the Arctic. The worst possible scenario that Putin never anticipated was a completely unified NATO and the addition of 830 miles, 1,340 kilometers of NATO border right up against Russia. That's what he's gotten for his illegal invasion of Ukraine. And the blood of thousands are on Vladimir Putin's hands. Now I want to talk a little bit about Finland and Sweden, but I also have to start with that letter. I remember vividly, Senator Shaheen, when we were meeting with Swedish diplomats and we were saying, and defense minister, and we were saying, what could we do to send the signal to the people of Finland and Sweden that the United States is absolutely supportive of their accession to NATO? They said, well, communications would be good. We said, well, we'll do a letter. In 24 hours, we got 80 signatures. Now, the question would be, why not the other 20? Quite honestly, we didn't take the time. Everybody that we went to signed on to the letter, but we thought it was important to get that communication out quickly. And today, we're going to see more than 95 senators, I think even more than that, vote for ratification, because they understand that Finland and Sweden are investing in their military. They understand that Finland is already at 2% and continuing to invest. They know that Finland has already put on order 64 F-35 Joint Strike Fighters. Why is that extraordinary? Finland is about half the population of my state, North Carolina, about 5.5 million people. They have on order 64 Joint Strike Fighters. We have fewer than 200 in full operation here in the United States. If we, on a per capita basis, were to have as many Joint Strike Fighters as Finland intends to have, we would need more than 4,000. Now let's talk about Sweden. Their industrial base is extraordinary. They have advanced fighter technology. They have advanced submarine technology. They have an industrial base that can be mobilized. They have an industrial base that's already developing platforms that are NATO interoperable. When they come in, they're not going to have to do some sort of NATO 101. They're going to get to work. They're going to continue the work they're already doing. And in Sweden's case, there are some members here who are concerned about burden sharing and hitting the 2% mark. When we were in Stockholm, we talked about this. When we met with the diplomatic and defense minister, we talked about this. They're on their way. They're committed. Their government officials are committed to getting to 2% funding, and thank goodness. Maybe that sends a message to some of our other NATO countries that they need to get up there. If anything, Ukraine has taught us that we have to be ready, and we have to be at that level of burden sharing. But I'm not the least bit concerned with Finland and Sweden meeting their target. They're going to do it, and they're going to do it on short order. I believe that Sweden will be there by 2027, early 2028. So now we have to move forward. Now, I am also being a little bit competitive. I'm disappointed that we weren't the first nation, but I also am very optimistic. I'm thrilled that so many nations have already recognized how valuable they will be as full-fledged NATO allies. So we're going to be 22nd, but we're doing it in record time. Everybody knows here, I describe this place as a crock pot. It takes a long time to cook something in the U.S. Senate. For us to do this in less than a month is absolutely extraordinary. And I hope that the people of Sweden and the people of Finland recognize that that's because the United States Senate has full confidence in them. We welcome them readily, and we look forward to their accession, and this step in ratifying the treaty is a great step. So, Madam President, I encourage all of my members to consider voting for Finland and Sweden. The last thing I'll leave you with is that there are some here who say, well, we can't really worry about Russia. We have to worry about China. We have to worry about both. And NATO's worried about both. If you look at the strategic concept that came out of Madrid, you should also recognize that there were 4 countries from Indo-PACOM who were at a NATO summit. They recognize that we have to look at China and recognize the threat, but they also recognize we have an immediate threat in Europe, and we have to stand together. And with NATO, I'm very proud of how the partners came together. And with Sweden and Finland, I'm going to even be more proud of our alliance when they are full-fledged members. And we're going to work as hard as we can as members of the Senate NATO Observer Group to make sure that the remaining countries follow suit quickly so that we can welcome both of these great nations into the greatest alliance that's ever existed. Thank you, Madam President.